This evening and tomorrow we celebrate the Solemnity of the Immaculate Conception of the Blessed Virgin Mary. It's the patronal feast day for the United States of America. So even when it falls the day before Sunday, as it does this year, it still remains a holy day. So why is it that Mary's Immaculate Conception is so important that we're asked to attend Mass 2 days in a row? Well, first we need to recall what this doctrine means, Mary's Immaculate Conception. Well, the word immaculate means without stain. And when it was solemnly defined by Pope Pius the 9th in 1854, it was that from the very moment of her conception, the Blessed Virgin Mary was free from the stain of original sin. So that from the very beginning, she was in the state of grace, sharing in God's life. That she was free from the sinful inclinations which have plagued us since the fall. Of course, it was long before 1854 that Catholics believed this. We've believed in Mary's Immaculate Conception to be true going way back really to the very beginning. And when I mean beginning, I mean the beginning. The beginning of the Bible, the beginning of creation itself. For if we go back to our first reading that we had tonight, we have the story of Adam and Eve and how they disobeyed God. After they sinned and lost God's life within them, God revealed something of his plan for the future to solve that problem. Speaking to the enemy, to that serpent, Satan, God says, "I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your offspring and hers. He will strike at your head while you strike at his heel." So this word enmity, it means complete opposition. Opposition between the devil and this woman and her son that it speaks of. And it's pretty obvious that God can't be talking about that first woman, Eve, because she wasn't in opposition to the enemy. She unfortunately fell into that temptation that he proposed. Can't be talking about Adam and Eve. If there's to be complete enmity between the woman and our enemy, Satan, then that woman can have been never in any way, even briefly, subject to evil. And so this implies an immaculate conception. See, Adam and Eve were both created immaculate, without any stain of sin. But then they fell from that grace. And so through them we're bound to sin as well. But Jesus and Mary were also conceived without sin. And they remained faithful. And then through them, redemption from sin is brought to us. Thus, we often call Jesus the new Adam and Mary the new Eve. And this is something the church has always believed from the very beginning. And so, this belief was brought to us here in the Americas when the faith came here. I'm sure you know from your histories something of Christopher Columbus's voyage here, 1492. Maybe you even remember the names of the boats that were brought over. The Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria. But do you know the full title of the flagship? The full title was the Santa Maria de la Immaculata Concepción. Holy Mary of the Immaculate Conception. And then again in 1584, the first American church, first Catholic church in the Americas, well, in the United States, was dedicated to the Immaculate Conception at St. Augustine in Florida. In 1644, Pope Innocent X declared the Feast of the Conception of Mary to be a holy day of obligation in all Spanish territories, which included those in the Americas. In 1791, the first American bishop, Bishop Carroll, chose the Virgin Mary to be the patroness of the first diocese in Baltimore, in the United States. And then it was finally in 1846 that the United States bishops requested special permission from the Pope to make the Blessed Virgin Mary, under the name of the Immaculate Conception, to be the patroness of the United States of America. And so it became so. And that's why we have a basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception in Washington, D.C. It's a church that those that are going to be going on the March for Life this coming month, we will have Mass at that shrine to our Blessed Mother and her Immaculate Conception. It was only and then 8 years after that finally it was officially declared in the church, solemnly proclaimed, that Mary was the Immaculate Conception. But of course it wasn't coming up with anything new. As faithful, we believed it long before. By giving Mary this grace from the moment of her conception, God showed us an image of our own future. That those who die in God's friendship and go to heaven will be freed from all sin, from all stain of sin. We will all be rendered immaculate in heaven if we remain faithful to God. Even in this life, God desires to purify us, to train us in holiness that we see in our Blessed Mother. So through Mary, as we honor her this evening, God shows us it is certainly possible for him to bring us there as well.